Hey everybody, Kyle here, bringing you some more Duelyst content. I really feel like I need a new intro. If you guys have any suggestions for a new intro, let me know, because I've been saying the same thing for a long time, and it's very generic, but I'm not quite sure yet. Nothing feels good. But regardless, so the Attack on Titan deck, really quick. Holy crap, guys. I am so happy that so many of you enjoyed the deck. It is really fun to play, and so I want to keep it up to date with you guys. So this video is going to be, it's not a deck. It was doing really well in Diamond last season, but I didn't get to play too many games. So like it won a good enough percent, and then the games it lost, it did well enough that I was like, okay, this is a good deck if people know how to play it. And it seems really straightforward, but the positioning is really the main part of the deck. But this season, before I start laddering with it, I am doing some more in-house skirmishes with other Terminal Mystic team members so that I can get a feel for other things I can try. So they're playing some meta decks and some off-meta decks against me so that we can see how the deck handles the situations. And today I want to share with you one of the replays that I think is going to be not only a good showcase of some of the changes I've made, but is also going to have a good talk about what I mean about positioning. So we're going to jump into that in a second. Real fast before I jump into it though, I want to pull up the deck. I only made a couple changes, and I'll go ahead and put the updated deck list in the description. We have actually cut one demonic lure. There was a lot of times where I was getting 2 of them in my hand, sometimes, rarely though, 3 of them in my hand, and that is not what we want. Though demonic lure is a good card when we need it, it's not a card that we always want around. So it was actually Alexicon, who's the guy I play the games against. He's actually the one that gave me the idea of cutting down to 2, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really liking it. I thought 2 would be too little, because it's a card that when we need it, we really need it, but it's been okay. The other cuts we made is we got rid of both of the Shadow Dancers. Now the main reason for that is since we're not playing a Swarm deck, other than the Vorpal Reaver giving us the 9/1/1s, we didn't really get a lot of synergy with the Shadow Dancer. The only synergy we got with it was if we played like Breath of the Unborn and got a big AoE turn and stuff like that. So we mainly relied on our opponents to swarm to get value out of the Shadow Dancer, and my mentality for keeping it around was, hey, it breaks artifacts. But my win rate after removing them against some of my friends playing Aggro Riva against me and Spell High against me was that the artifacts weren't necessarily that much harder to deal with. It was just we had to deal with them differently. And since this deck already wants to be in the face of a Songhai player and force them to use their damaging spells on giant minions to keep me alive, it ended up working out just fine. Spectral Blade was also Alex's idea, and I really liked it. In my very old Big Abyssian deck, I did run Spectral Blade, and I'm glad to have it back. It replaced the Shadow Dancers and gave us the ability to restore health against things that do, 0 or 1 damage. We gain a little bit of health, but it also lets us get a little more board control early game and mid game, even late game to pick things off. I've used it to kill like a 4-Winds Magi before after luring it over. It's been very useful. And then one Ghost Azalea. For this card, we cannot deny its power, but and we do have a lot of creep generation in this deck, but I think it justifies only being a 1-of, because I don't really want to be running 2 Obliterates, even in a full creep deck. Just having 2 8-mana game enders is very just has a chance to mess up your hand, especially since we're already running 2 Rites of the Undervault. So having Ghost Azalea in the deck gives us basically a second Obliterate that's a little better on mana, and in worst case scenario, if we really had to, we could use it to kill something that's really problematic. This is not something that would be problematic, but like we could kill like a Pandora or something, you know what I mean? If we weren't already pushing for lethal. The Duelysts are working very well. Very well, and they actually will pop up in this game, but I'll go ahead and show you guys the game here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the replay, and I'll see you there. Alright, so Kira. Alright guys, here we are in the replay. I'm going to go ahead and turn on real time for this one. So the opening hand, this is pretty easy. We don't really want to keep Obliterate in our opening hand, even if we have a good creep opener. I would probably run this against more late game heavy decks, but since Artifact combo is pretty fast, I went ahead and got rid of it, and then we obviously don't need the Undervault either. Now, real quick, I'm going to pause it here. Hopefully the replay doesn't freak out too much. So, before we get into this, I want to tell you the deck my opponent's playing. So, Alexicon was playing I believe, a slightly off-meta deck. So, it sounds like the way he described it to me is he took the Artifact Combo Sage and the Sabo Sage and made them more aggressive. I'm not 100% sure exactly how he did. I don't have a lot of experience playing Sage, and the only deck list I've actually seen is the Artifact Combo. But at the same time, just so you guys know, so this is a Sage deck that's designed to be more aggressive towards the enemy. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing it here again and hope that things don't freak out. Looking at our hand, though, I don't think we want to hold on to 2 Reaper of the Nine Moons. I'm pretty sure I cycled one of those. Actually, because we're about to blow a lot of our hand, though. This deck going second has really good turns because we can almost always move forward, play something on the Mana Spring tile, play 1-drop, stuff like that. So this one we're able to not only kill the Pyromancer and draw a card with Sphere of Darkness, but we're going to be able to play the Mystic for tempo and play an Abyssal Crawler, which is fantastic. So here we go. Yeah, we go ahead and cycle that out, and we get a Juggernaut, which after playing a Sphere of Darkness and putting an Abyssal Crawler on the battlefield is really good. Because being able to play a 6/6 next turn is fine. And when we end our turn, it'll be a 7/7. Breath of the Unborn is also a card that I really like to have against Vitruvian. Because it helps us deal with a lot of the things on the battlefield. Like when we can pop a Pax, and if they already have other dervishes. Again, this applies, I guess, more to Xerix with the dervishes, but if they have anything on the board with 2 health, or if we can hero power a Falkius, and then Breath of the Unborn kill all the dervishes and finish off the Falkius, etc., etc., it helps us pick off obelisks, things like that. So this turn, I believe I make a slight misplay. No, I'm thinking of a different turn. This turn, sadly, was a little... Maybe I should turn real-time off. This turn, I had a hard choice, though, between if I was going to... Whoa, that was a weird frame drop there. I hope that didn't come through on the video too bad. I'm not sure why it happened. So this turn, my options were either do an on-curve play, which is play the Juggernaut, but since the Pyromancer had been buffed and had Blast, it's not something I wanted to deal with, so we had to go for the... less tempo play and just kill the Pyromancer and kind of block off one of the Mana Spring options. Not the best. I also didn't attack Sage here. I didn't know that Sage was aggro at the time. I didn't know that it was an aggro Sage list. He didn't tell me this till afterwards. I thought it was going to be the Artifact combo. But I still didn't want to trade because since this deck is very focused on late game and winning with your minions, I just learned over time that unless we have obviously lethal on the board with our general and stuff like that, we just don't want to be attacking with our general. Playing Reaper of the Nine Moons back here was for 2 reasons. Now that Siphon Soul doesn't have range, or Siphon Energy, I'm sorry. Now that Siphon Energy doesn't have any range, it forces our opponent, if they want to play Ephemeral Shroud or Lightbender, to have to move over and try to play minions in an awkward line to get something over to Reaper of the Nine Moons that can silence it. And that's fantastic. I'm very into that. Our matchup against Vitruvian is pretty decent. We do get a Sunset Paragon here. And we grab a Silhouette Tracer, which is good stats for sure. Sage decks, since with the fact that they still need to run a lot of the good Vitruvian spells, but they also need the artifact synergy with Sage to really make her optimal, means that Reaper of the Nine Moons is especially good against them on average, because they're going to have since they really need their minions to count, they're going to have better quality things in general to grab. So that's something you can think of too when you're fighting Sage, is you're probably going to be able to really get use out of that. Now this is the turn I believe I make a bit of a misplay, and that is I was trying to figure out if I wanted to play a Juggernaut or not, and Alex has 5 cards in hand, so the chances of him having some form of silence or entropic decay is extremely high. But I played the Juggernaut right next to his general. I think I should have played the Juggernaut maybe behind my general, so that way he wouldn't be able to simply like Entropic Decay and then walk into a Mana Spring tile. He would have to move, like say, up and around me in order to reach with Siphon Soul or anything like that to reach the Juggernaut. They wouldn't be able to walk on the Mana String tile and just cast something for 6 mana. So this felt pretty bad, and this is just getting used to the matchups, because again, this deck is extremely new. So these are things that I will learn in time, and that we'll all learn together. Now this is what I meant about Breath of the Unborn being pretty awesome. So we're able to kill the packs, and then get a good turn here where we can play the Abyssal Juggernaut. And then, since Breath of the Unborn will heal our Silhouette Tracer, it will no longer die to the Falcius that's on the board. And then our Silhouette Tracer can pick off the Falcius. We'll go ahead and switch out the Assassin at this point, because the Assassin is good for early game, dealing with any early drops that our opponents are going to play. Against Xerix, it's good against his Obelisks, especially. But against Saj, Night Sorrow isn't the most important. Now, a Falcius combo here definitely is messing us up. It's going to go ahead and take out our Juggernaut again. But one thing I will go ahead and pause and talk about real fast. Give me a second. I will tell you when to pause. I'm going to pause right now. So one thing I will mention, even though we just lost our Juggernaut, one thing you might have noticed with my decks is the way I prefer to play, and this was true back in Magic the Gathering as well, and that is when I play card games, I prefer a strategy where my deck strategy is I will focus on winning the board in a physical fight. Like I will outmaneuver, outplay, outvalue my opponent in an actual physical conflict with minions and my general. And then in order for them to be able to compete with me, they will have to use multiple cards a turn to try and keep their board. And then when their hand dwindles down to when they're top decking, we will win with the force that we built up on the board and the heavy late game that I like to run in my decks. Hence, Tempo Sabo is mainly minions. There's very few spells in that deck. I mean, there's at least 3, 4, 5. I know there has to be more than 5 spells, but there's 5 that I can think of. So, even though we just lost 2 Juggernauts, our opponent now has less cards in hand than us. And our cards, if we keep replacing and top decking, are going to be more late game. And especially since this is an aggro variant on the deck, they're definitely going to be more late game than this aggro variant. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause now. We no longer want the 1-drop. We don't have any of our synergy on the board for it, and at this point in time, we just need bigger things. Now this turn I was very curious about if I was going to play a Revenant or not, but I'm just playing safe because our opponent does have more health than us, and the last thing I need when my board is this weak is to play Spectral Revenant, attack, like say the Falcius, and then have Saj simply dominate will it, and then we have to deal with the Revenant. We couldn't come back from that situation. That's something against Vitruvian with this kind of deck you do have to think about, and sometimes you have to tempt out answers on a weaker minion. So here we play Duelyst and simply just do damage to the artifact to try to force her to have to find an answer to the Duelyst instead of being able to just dominate will, potentially, our Spectral Revenant. So there goes Duelyst, sadly. We'll go ahead and throw the 2-drop away, and we get that 1-drop again, which is extremely unfortunate for us. We also want, obviously, to make sure that we don't damage Nimbus at all. So here we go ahead and just move the Tombstone to provoke Nimbus, so that way he is hopefully forced to just attack the Tombstone. I also want to talk about this positioning a little bit more. Now this, I feel like, was a mistake, and I'll explain why. The reason why I put the Abyssal Crawler here and not the Duelyst was because I wanted to force our opponent backwards without giving her a good target, again, for Dominate Will. And while this is definitely one of the weakest things she could Dominate Will in the deck, looking at our board state, again, with her having a Nimbus, Dominate Will and Duelyst would be extremely bad for us. And since the Nimbus is provoked by the Tombstone over here, she's going to be forced, hopefully, to attack the Abyssal Crawler with her General, which is going to mean that she doesn't get the benefit of Blast, because she's going to be attacking in melee. Now, however, she can move over here, but then if she moves over to the left or up above to get away from to be able to not take damage from the crawler, she's going to have to attack the tombstone, which is then going to save me health and my minions health, and the next turn I can move them as I please. That is the main thinking here. But what I'm getting at is I think the Duelyst still maybe should have been down here, because if she does have any way, such as Scorn, for example, to just do 1 damage, summon an obelisk, kill this abyssal crawler. Granted, she would lose her blast artifact, but whatever. Then she could move up and potentially deal with this Duelyst. But the mana doesn't make that efficient for her unless you Intrepid Decayed it, which isn't the greatest. So this positioning wasn't like game-breaking or a problem for us, but it's definitely something I think could have been better to have the Duelyst down here, mainly because she couldn't move up and then blast the tombstone. Granted, because that would let her do damage to it and me, but she would take retaliation from me. So I think I'm talking too much about something that's very unimportant, but I mainly just want to focus on how do man, I am blabbling on. I'm not even saying real English words at this point. I'm basically rambling on about something that doesn't seem very important, and obviously I think this exact moment in time isn't super important, this being the Duelyst being here or here, but I definitely wanted to give you an example of when I'm playing minions, how I'm thinking about how I'm playing minions. Like, this is something that I'm thinking about every single turn, is what is our opponent going to do, what is Alex's plan, where does he want to be, how do we stop him from being there, and how do we force him to make the plays we want him to make, etc. I'm going to go ahead and hit play again. Sorry that I rambled on so long about that turn, but it just wanted to make an example. So the Revenant at this point, I'm going to wait until she either backs up a lot, and then we're able to start picking off minions that she's left behind with the Revenant to do damage to her from a distance, so that she can't dominate will it, because again, we have nothing in our hand that will be able to bring us back from a dominate will on a Spectral Revenant. But at the same time, and it's also potentially a 6 damage for lethal, but since we are top decking fairly poorly right now, it is a hard decision. Now here, I decided that with what's in our hand, we're going to go ahead and have to play both of these. There was an argument there for casting the Rite of the Undervault, but since I was really looking for a way to deal with this Nimbus, I didn't want to cast Rite of the Undervault there. Another thing that I think I should have done here, looking back at it, is potentially attacked the Nimbus with Revenant and with Abyssal Crawler, and then used my Spectral Blade to kill one of the obelisks that appeared, because I would have gained 2 health for no loss, and Nimbus would be dead right now, and there would only be a single obelisk. So granted, there would be a 3/3, so I could have killed the Falcius with the Duelyst and then had a tombstone. That would have been a much, much stronger play looking back at this right now. So that's one of the reasons why replay analysis is very important as well. It's just looking back at this, there was a much better play I could have done there, by far. So when you're working on a new deck like this, like we'd say Attack on Titan right now, though I did get it to a point where I felt comfortable like releasing it to the public, quote unquote, it is important when you're working on a new deck that you really keep playing it in scrims against good matches, or against good players that are playing good decks, and you play it on ladder. Very solid. Very solid strategy. So go ahead and write the. So it looks like, sadly the replay did get a little messed up. It looks like my hand isn't keeping up to date as much as it should. I went ahead and wanted to get some extra Shadow Creep here. Oh, did I not use my hero power? That was a bit of a misplay. I don't know why I didn't use it there. Did I use it there? Gosh, this replay I think is pretty bugged out right now. I do apologize. That would have already been creep there. I'm not actually sure what's going on, if it's the replay or me. So here, my health was decently low, but with just a simple use of the Psionic Strike, she would be able to kill the Tombstone at 3 health. And since this is just a friendly match, I'm not worried about risking chevrons and all that stuff. I went ahead and you know, we're just testing out plays, see how stuff works. I went ahead and tried healing the Tombstone here to see if healing a Tombstone against Asajj who wants to be aggressive with their general. I mean, even the Sabotage and stuff, like Asajj is usually in a pretty aggressive place because of the artifacts and her ability. This was a bit unfortunate. So we get down to 8 health here, and we lose our artifact. Yeah, looking back at it, this game I think would have been decided a lot better if I had done the killing the Nimbus play. I was so worried about summoning obelisks that I think I misplayed pretty bad, to be honest. Pretty bad. So I'm going to go ahead and take that as a learning experience. Now at this point in time, I honestly can't remember exactly what I did. I'm thinking though. What did I do? I'm pretty sure I killed this obelisk. Yeah, I do. Oh, I remember what I do this turn. So I'm going to have to pause it here in a second. I'll tell you when I'm pausing it. Or I don't know why I said I'll tell you when I'm pausing it. You're not pausing it with me. I'm sorry, guys. I am so tired. So I'm thinking here about where to play the Juggernaut because, again, I want to play around all of the Vitruvian's way of dealing with large minions. So we're going to pause as soon as this Juggernaut spawns. So again, let's go ahead and... So let's going to do that for a while. So look at the placement here again. Now, sadly, the Tombstone isn't, because of where the Silhouette Tracer is, it's not going to be able to provoke all 3 of them. And the only reason why I went ahead and played the Juggernaut here and didn't move the Tombstone down is because it's only going to be able to provoke one of the 2 no matter where I put it. And at this point, I'm not too worried about Nimbus. I figure Nimbus will trade into the Reaper of the Nine Moons. But let's talk about the positioning I did here. So the only reason why I positioned how I did was our Abyssal Juggernaut right now is threatening to end the game. And I want to play it close enough that it's going to be able to threaten Saj if she tries to do anything in this group of units right here. But I still want it to be protected. And the only way I had to do that was Reaper of the Nine Moons. I could have played a lower minion, but let's say I played an Ooze, for example. Yes, Nimbus could hit it. Nimbus would then live. Ooze would summon Shadow Creep, which might finish off the Nimbus, but that would summon another obelisk. And then she'd be able to walk up and possibly take this away. Now, even if she let's say Dominate Will, something that I will bring up in case some newer players or even other Abyssian players don't know, is if a Juggernaut gets Dominate Will cast on it, it just becomes a 3/3 for the Vitruvian. Because a minion has, it's not an opening gambit, it's this minion just passively has +1/+1 for every friendly Shadow Creep. And it's something that I think people, at least I know I did when I first ran into a Juggernaut when it was on ladder with my Vitruvian deck. I didn't think about that it's friendly Shadow Creep and it's a passive, and so it becomes a 3/3. However, though it does become a 3/3, getting it Dominate Willed by the enemy general, by Alex, still basically does 13 damage to our board. It takes a 13/13 away from us that potentially could have won us the game. And the reason why I chose to put Reaper of the Nine Moons here and not anything else is because not only if Saj decides to attack with the Nimbus, does Nimbus die to Reaper of the Nine Moons and only gets a single obelisk, but Reaper of the Nine Moons is then going to steal a minion from the opponent's deck. And we've already talked about, against Saj and Vitruvian in general, Reaper of the Nine Moons is very strong because Vitruvian is full of really strong minions, and Saj in general will have, I would say, probably slightly less of a minion density than Xerix, meaning that the quality is overall possibly higher. We've already stolen one of her Silhouette Tracers, which was a pretty decent, a 2/6 that got a lot of work in, so there's something else we could get. I won't spoil it, but it's amazing. You guys can probably guess. Also, if we hit a Nimbus, that's fantastic. But because it'll summon a second minion, Nimbus can't trade into the Reaper and then let Saj move up and then deal with the Juggernaut. The thing will then spawn here and get in the way. The Silhouette Tracer can't do anything about it because of the Tombstone. So then Saj herself would either have to move in to do something about this minion, but then would die to the Juggernaut, or would have to use some type of spell to deal with the Tombstone, but then the 2/6 probably wouldn't be able to deal with whatever we summon, and there's still 13/13 to kill the 2/6, to kill the Silhouette Tracer. So you see, this simple positioning was very important, because we potentially could have lost the game at this point in time. especially with us only having 8 health and the tombstone being stuck in this awkward position. If, say, she had a bunch of artifacts to buff herself, she could even just trade in the Nimbus to whatever minion was here, and then move over with her general, and then equip some artifacts and finishes off and hits the Silhouette Tracer, or what have you. So Reaper of the Nine Moons is great. Don't be afraid in low health situations to play Reaper of the Nine Moons between you and something instead of behind you, like you normally want to do to keep it safe, because the fact that when it dies it summons another body means it can really deny space from your opponent. Alright, I'm going to pause again real quick. So, I already know there are going to be people that are like, oh man, freaking IMR healer. Come on. I agree. IMR healer, yes. Obviously, basically the best thing we could have got. But the reason why I went ahead and still chose this game, I generally don't like to cast games where my Reaper of the Nine Moons grabs something ridiculous. Because I know that people are going to pour in and be like, you only won because of this minion. Because that's what people do. It's just the mentality people have. That's fine. The reason why I kept this one in is because, one, it will happen. It happens. There are things other factions can do that totally mess you up. Like, you can say you only won because you had Dominate Will. If you didn't have Dominate Will, crap, man. Seriously. You can say, man, that Songhai only got lethal because they had 2 4 Winds Magi's out. And then they had a Heaven's Eclipse. Like, what's up with that? And then they were able to cast all kinds of 0 mana spells on this like 1/1 minion. Whatever. You get the point. Like, there are crazy things every faction can do. Reaper of the Nine Moons sometimes does the same thing. But this isn't a balanced discussion of Reaper of the Nine Moons or of anything. I'm just bringing it up because the positioning aspect of this game is very good. Also, I'm going to say, though, the reason why this IMR healer I'm not considering a super big problem is if you look at the board state right now, and the fact that our opponent is top decking when we have 5 cards in hand, means that even at 8 health, the ability for a Saj to be able to kill us anytime soon is extremely low. The only thing we really have to worry about is Star's Fury, but we have Provokes on the board and we have Klaxon in our hand, so being able to set up Provokes around us to prevent a good Star's Fury is definitely a possibility. Now, I know Star's Fury doesn't see a ton of play on ladder, except for, I believe, in some of the Dervish lists for Xerix. Saj does lack non-straight AoE, because she can get Blast and do Blast on a lane, sure, but one thing she's not good at is controlling a board. She's not as swarmy and zooey as a Xerix is, I feel. I've never really felt that she is. I mean, she does run packs. The packs is extremely good value. So I was thinking that one thing that could do this burst damage to me is, of course, Star's Fury. I really hope I'm saying the right name, because I don't see that card a lot anymore. And that's another reason why getting Provokes on our generals may be very important. There was an argument that you might be like, oh, if IMR Healer kills the Obelisk, you get to remove the Obelisk, you get 5 health, she takes 5 damage, there's no downside. But I see more value in the Provoke. I'm going to go ahead and unpause while I talk about this. I see more value in the Provoke, so right now my goal is to keep her alive. The Spine Cleaver, however, is a problem, because we have low health, and the Blood Totem could be extremely bad for us. But as you can see, we have a good play here with Breath of the Unborn. Being able to take this 3/7 down to 2 health, we can pop packs with our Bloodborne spell, which will summon 2 2/2s. Then Breath of the Unborn is not only going to fully heal Ayamara, as well as finish off all the minions besides the Obelisk, but it's also going to fully heal our Tombstone, which is going to be very good. Another thing is right here I decided to go ahead and hold back the Juggernaut again. Now this is most likely me being way too defensive. At this point in time, I definitely think it was correct to move the Juggernaut forward to threaten our opponent, because she would have to top deck something. But again, I'm not, things happen. I just got off work and played a couple scrims against a teammate, so I'm not necessarily thinking things through the best. And since I'm alt-tabbing, talking to my girlfriend at this point in time, and Alex, I just wasn't paying enough. I wasn't paying tons of attention. So I do apologize for some of the mistakes I'm making, but I'm ratifying them now. And here's the Star's Fury, exactly what I was thinking about. This is why I didn't want to sacrifice the IMR healer. This is why I wanted to heal the Tombstone, and this is also why I quit the Spectral Blade, which I didn't talk about. Not only because I had 2 mana left, and why not, but Spectral Blade is also good because things that want to trade into your general for damage will usually die, and then you'll heal, so it's a way to keep yourself alive from some minion-based burst sometimes. Unless it's like a Divine Bond or something, you know what I'm saying? So the Provokes really did their job here, for sure. Yeah. So sadly, our Ooze is going to hit the Obelisk and die without making any shadow creep, but the Armor Healer is going to be able to do 10 damage and seal the game in for us. And there we go. So the changes, I'm glad because you guys got to see a lot of the changes since the last video. Again, those being the 2 copies of Duelyst, to the 1 Ghost Azalea, and the 2 copies of Spectral Blade. Though the Ghost Azalea didn't come into play, Ghost Azalea and Obliterate are definitely side win conditions for this deck. This deck does win with board attrition and then having heavier late game than our opponent. But when a game goes into heavy late game, usually that means that we've had a lot of chance to build up shadow creep from our other shadow creep abilities, and therefore Obliterate and Ghost Azalea become extremely powerful. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't ramble too much about things that didn't. I hope I didn't. I could not talk. Wow. I hope I didn't ramble on too much about things that didn't make sense. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I'm tired. There you go. There's next. What is this? What is this outro? I told you guys I have an intro that's boring, and I do not know how to make an outro. So here, we're going to try again. You ready? Alright, we're going to pretend nothing happened. I'm going to leave this in, because that's how my channel works. We do minimal editing, not because we're lazy, but because I feel like it's fun to leave in. Reset. Alright, here we go. Didn't happen. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys now understand what I mean about positioning is very important when you have a very minion-heavy deck. Or, I should say, a deck that's win condition is based heavily on giant minions. Breath of the Unborn. Hopefully, you guys undersea. Oh, man. I hope there's a Sebastian in here right now. Under the Sea, man. Hopefully, you guys now understand why I'm playing Breath of the Unborn over something like, say, Grasp of the Dead. Grasp of Agony. Whatever. You know, that card right there that I can literally show you that's right here. And people obviously, they also can't play around Breath of the Unborn the same way they can play around Grasp of Agony. People, especially in High Diamond and when I spectate games in S, they definitely move away from Grasp of Agony, and then you're forced to have to use Demonic Lure to make Grasp of Agony good, whereas at Breath of the Unborn, you kind of just blow everything up and you heal all your minions, and this deck, being able to heal your minions is very good. Duelyst saved us that game. I went back with Alex and talked about that game, and there was a lot of times where the tombstones, being where they were, actually prevented us from dying. And since I know I could have placed the tombstones better, and the game could have went completely differently if we had taken that turn to go ahead and kill Nimbus with our Spectral Revenant, that game was a lot closer than it actually needed to be, surprisingly, now that I'm going back. And one final thing before I just stop rambling at you. This is another reason why I want to really talk about you should watch your replays, is because, like, this game, when I played it, I was like, oh, that felt good. You know, I won the game. Everything was good. That was awesome. But now that I'm commentating over it, I'm seeing a lot of things I could have done better. So even though I learned a lot of things during the game, fighting Saj, I then learned even more things from looking at what I did. So make sure to watch your replays. If you guys are playing this deck, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go ahead and update the deck list again to be more accurate. And my girlfriend is feeling a lot better, so hopefully I'm going to be going back to doing daily uploads again. Thank you guys so much for your support with the deck and the channel, and I hope that I continue to entertain you, and I'll see you